What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken, here today for a little bit of a recommendation style video. So I used to do videos like this. I don't know if anybody remember, if you've been subscribed to me for any number of months. I think the last one I did was probably like back in March, but I used to do a series called 5 Movies You Need to Watch Right Now. So I thought I would transfer that idea into something else, just like some physical media recommendations and just maybe like spotlighting certain labels to talk about. So I'm going to be talking about 5 RLJE Blu-ray releases that I think that you guys should have in your collection. I think you should buy. I think you should spend your hard-earned money to purchase. So all the ones that I discuss here today, as well as the title that I'm going to review, because I'm also going to review and talk about Seance. This is like going to be a 2-in-1 video. So I'm going to review and talk about Seance. So I'll leave all the links for purchasing these in the description below. So if you do purchase any of these titles from those links, you will be supporting the channel and I would greatly appreciate it. So before I get into, talking about these movies, I want to ask that if you are not yet a subscriber of the Mid-Level Media channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button for more great physical media based content, and also be sure to like this video, guys. Hit the like button. I would greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the video and the channel and helps get more eyes on just what I'm doing around here. And also comment down below if you've seen any of these films that I'm talking about. If you want to see any of these films I'm talking about, if you're going to buy any of them based on my recommendations here today, let me know in that comment section below. So yeah, after last week doing that 3-hour long my entire Blu-ray collection video, I really just enjoyed this, like picking out certain parts of my collection and just talking about it with you guys, and you guys seem to enjoy it as well. I got some really great feedback from that. Just people that really liked my insights and my recommendations, like as I was going through my title. So I thought I would condense that down just a little bit. I'm not going to cover 770 titles like I did last week. Only 5 titles here today, plus the review that I'm going to do. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is, and a couple of these I actually reviewed on the channel earlier this year, I think in like a live stream. And so I've got more people that are watching me now, so maybe you didn't check that out. Plus it was a really shitty live stream. I didn't have like internet access. It was all blurry. So I'm going to redo those reviews of these films in the form of these recommendations. So the first one that I've got to show you guys is Host. And I can't remember, I think that this was released this year in February, but I know it came out last summer. This was like the first like big movie that was like filmed, directed, cast, all that stuff produced all during the quarantine. Like they started on this one, like I think a couple of months after the pandemic. So like March and April of last year. And then this movie was out on Shudder. It was a Shudder exclusive. And a lot of these titles that we're covering are Shudder exclusives because RLJE has like a partnership with them. And yeah, they usually put their stuff out like in physical media, Blu-ray, 4K, it's steelbook form. So we have Host right here, which came out last summer. A lot of people said that this was the best horror movie of last year. And I feel like off the top of my head, I might have to agree with that. I watched this earlier this year. I bought this when it came out. It was only like $12 or $13. That's another thing about these RLJE titles. They're almost always super affordable. If you guys see me going to Best Buy every single week for my Blu-ray hunts, I grab these titles usually all the time because they're so cheap, they're so affordable. I love horror. I just love discovering like movies that maybe not a lot of people have heard of. And then checking them out, because a lot of the movies from RLJ, they're not great, but sometimes you'll find some real hidden gems that are actually pretty fantastic, and Host is one of those. So this is only an hour long. It's a found footage, like screen life film. I know that they were trying to get the screen life term. It's like almost like a subgenre of the found footage subgenre is screen life, and what that means is it takes place like not a camera that people are like taking around with them, but it's more or less it takes place on like people's screens, like either on a cell phone screen, a computer screen, laptop, or whatever, but it's all on like a screen. It's not like a camera that's following anybody around. Like the Blair Witch or anything like that. So I thought this movie was scary as hell. Of course, I am a sucker for found footage, supernatural stuff like this. I think that Paranormal Activity is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen in my life. So I watched this movie this past February in my basement at like 2 in the morning, and I was looking over my shoulder like every 3 minutes. This movie is freaky as hell. It really for it only being an hour long, it really like it's really well paced because it does build like some good suspense and atmosphere. And then it just takes you right into just the chaos and the spooky and scary and the terrifying moments of this movie, like really quickly. Like it ramps up very fast, but it also like takes its time to build to that moment. So I do appreciate it for that. And just what this movie does in an hour, I think is just incredible. And I wish that I love movies that are like an hour and 20, hour and 10 minutes. Like you rarely get them. But when you do, you find that they're just so well paced and they don't even feel rushed at all. So I wish that more movies could do that, honestly. I think Host is just fantastic, guys. This is directed by Rob Savage. And it's $9.19 on Amazon right now. So this is a very cheap title on Amazon. Another thing that I want to note, and this is something that RLJE just started doing. They just started doing reversible cover art, and I actually have it reversed already. But this is the reversible cover art, and I'll go ahead and flip it, and it's the original. So yeah, they're actually like starting to do reversible cover art, and I think one other title they did it on that I have in the collection right here. But yeah, that's really cool right there. The reversible cover art for Host is awesome. They got disc art right here, guys. So yeah, it's RLJE. They're really doing some great work. I wish they would start doing the reversible cover art on everything because they still haven't done it on some of the titles. But yeah, I think that's I think RLG is really fantastic. I think that Host for $9.19 is a freaking steal. Like if you all have not seen this movie, it also has some pretty awesome special features too. They do a Zoom call, I think, like to get everybody used to the idea of what they were going to do. They basically had the cast go through a supernatural seance like they would in the movie, and like some creepy stuff happened in the actual real life one that freaked them out. So it was really interesting the way they showed it. And that special feature is actually pretty freaking awesome. And there's an extended cut edition that adds like 5 minutes on this as well. So yeah, I think that out of all the ones that I'm covering here today, this is like my top recommendation. Like if you don't own Host, $9.19 on Amazon, hit that link down below and get this. It's one of the best horror movies that's come out in like probably the past 5 years. So I think Host is fantastic. The next one that I'm going to recommend to you guys, and this is one that people have probably heard of. It's been out for a while, but Mandy, starring Nicolas Cage. Now this came out in 2018. This is directed by Panos Cosmatos. So yeah, he did one other movie. I think it's called Beyond the Black Rainbow, which I actually have on Blu-ray. I probably covered it last week and don't even remember it. But yeah, I haven't seen that one, but I have seen this, and this is a freaking hell of a ride. It's Nicolas Cage at probably the best he's been in like the past few years. Like this is definitely the best straight to Blu-ray, straight to VOD Nicolas Cage movie that's come out in like the past 10 years for sure. And yeah, he's wild in this movie. This is a revenge story at its core. There are parts of this movie that feel like Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. He has this big long chainsaw, and yeah, it's basically like his girlfriend gets murdered at the beginning of the movie, and he has to avenge her by taking out all of these like demonic forces. So it's a hell of a movie. It's visually like one of the best movies I've seen in like the past 10 years. It's just so well directed. The cinematography is fantastic. I've heard from some people it's not their cup of tea. Not everybody loves this. I think you have to be a little bit more acclimated to like a specific style. But yeah, it's very methodically paced as well. It takes probably about an hour for it to get going, which is in contrast to the movie I just talked about. It's about a 2-hour long movie, but I think that this movie is fantastic and definitely one of Nicolas Cage's best performances. Probably in my top 10 Nicolas Cage film, to be honest. And this one actually has reversible cover art as well. So that's awesome. This is an earlier one. I think it came out in like 2018. So yeah, that's the reversible cover art, which is freaking rad as hell. And that's the other artwork right there. So I'll go ahead and flip it again because I don't feel like I got a clear picture of that first one. There's some good special features in this one as well. There's a behind the scenes and some deleted and extended scenes also. So they don't skimp on the special features with RLJE. They actually provide you with some pretty awesome stuff. So Mandy is an absolute recommendation. So let me tell you all how you can purchase this one. So it's not on Amazon, the standalone Blu-ray at least. There is 6 copies, at least as time that I recorded this. as of right now of the Steelbook for 1941, which is a gorgeous Steelbook. Which I would recommend for 1941. If you don't have it, that's a freaking awesome steelbook. But it is available right now on bullmoose.com for $13.97, the regular Blu-ray. So if you don't own this in your collection, I do absolutely recommend that you pick this one up for sure. I think Mandy is absolutely fantastic. So the next one that I'm going to talk about, guys, is Random Acts of Violence. So this was a cool little movie that I bought earlier this year that I wasn't really expecting too much out of. It's not like great. It didn't like overwhelm me or anything like Hosted or Mandy. It's not like on that level, but I think it's a really solid, almost like horror slasher. It's a lot of different things in the one. It kind of has this comic booky like aesthetic to it because it's basically about a writer that it writes this story called Slasher Man, and then like the actual Slasher Man in his stories is like coming to life and like haunting them and chasing them around and stalking them. And yeah, it's a really solid movie. It's really gory. It's really violent. There's a lot of great gory violent scenes in this film and like action sequences as well. It's directed by Jay Baruchel, which if you don't know who he is, he was in a lot of the Apatow comedies in like the mid-2000s. He's in This Is the End. He's Seth Rogen's friend in the very beginning of the movie. I mean, I'll zoom in right here. You probably know who he is. He's in Tropic Thunder. He's in She's Out of My League. He was in Knocked Up. He's just been in a ton of comedies. So apparently, like, he loves the horror genre, and he has a great special feature in this release where he's like high off his ass talking about the directing and acting process of making this movie, because he actually stars in this movie and he directs it. So it's like to do that in your first feature film, because I think this is the first movie that he ever directed. I could be wrong, but I think it's the first movie he ever directed. But yeah, this is a cool little movie. It's got Jordana Brewster in it as well, and I absolutely recommend this one. It's available right now on Amazon for $9.96. That's a great price for that. Like I said, Host for $9.19 is a steal. For $9.96 for this one, absolutely worth it, I think. Like, it has some really good special features. No reversible cover art on this one, but you do get some disc art in there. So that is very much appreciated. So Random Acts of Violence, I think, is super underrated. I think that more people need to check that out. And it's pretty damn badass, I think. So this next one, guys, is a movie called Spree. This one came out last October, I think, around Halloween time. This is a wild ride too. This is a found footage movie. This is starring Joe Keery, who, I forget his name in Stranger Things. Steve. It's Steve from Stranger Things, who's great on Stranger Things as well. He is great in this movie. He is playing a kid that's basically like trying to get famous. He's trying to gain followers. He's trying to gain subscribers on Instagram and YouTube. He's going around live streaming all the time. It's very humorous. It's almost played like a satire through most of the movie. He's walking around with his phone. He's like, "Hey guys, what's up?" And I forget his name. It's Meet Kurt. Oh yeah, it's Kurt. So he has like, I think his vlog is, I'm sorry, it's been like a year since I've seen this, but he has a vlog. It's called like Kurt's World or something. And he's walking around like talking to his camera and like nobody's in his chat, which I can relate to as well in the early days of streaming. And nobody's in his chat. Nobody cares. Nobody gives him the time of day. He's got a friend that gets like 100,000 people in his chats every time he goes live. And basically he turns into a murderer to get attention and to get people to subscribe and follow him and be in his live stream. So he basically turns into a murderer just to get notoriety. And he's going around killing people. And it's a wild movie. It's different. It feels different, and it's what Collider said on the front of this is perfect. It's absolutely perfect because he plays this role very much like Christian Bale played Patrick Bateman in American Psycho, but it says American Psycho for the digital age, which I absolutely agree. So there's some really good special features on this one as well. I think there's one of just like his actual like live stream. They do a special feature of that as well, and then there's a nice disc art in there. So yeah, this is a cool release. Right now you can get this on Amazon for $12.96. So not as cheap as Random Acts of Violence and Host or anything, but I still think it's a really solid price for this. And I thought that this movie was a hell of a time. It was one of the best horror movies of 2020, to be honest. I would put it like maybe in my top 5, like with Host. But last year was very weak for horror. So next one I'm going to talk about, guys, is one that I don't think needs any introduction. A lot of people have heard about this movie. I don't think everybody's seen it, but a lot of people have heard of it, at least in like the cult film collecting community. And that's Psycho Goreman. Yeah, this one was really well promoted, I think. It even has another edition. It's called like the Hunky Boy edition. But if you want to own that, I think it's like $120 right now on Amazon. So it's super expensive. So this movie, like, I didn't love this movie, but it's definitely a really quirky movie about like 2 kids controlling a monster. It's more like the little girl that controls the monster. And yeah, the monster, it's almost like a comedy, but it's also like gory. And then there's like weird moments of it almost feeling like a Power Rangers TV show, just with some of the villains and what they look like and how they move around. It just reminded me of Power Rangers. So I actually reviewed this movie on the channel back. I think I rented it on VOD for like $7 or something, and that I gave my thoughts and reviews on it. But I like this movie quite a bit. Like I said, it's a strange movie. Some of the comedy lands, some of it doesn't for me. Like, I don't think it's great or anything, but it's definitely an interesting film, and I think it's one worth checking out. So yeah, you got the Psycho Goreman on the cover right there. A lot of great special features in this. 2 hours of special features on this right here, guys. So a lot of special features, and it also has some really cool reversible cover art as well. So I hope RLJE continues that trend with like all of their releases, even though I'm not seeing it with like Seance and you know, Jacob's Wife and some of their other ones. So I just wish that they did it more, because I think it just brings a lot to their brand and just what they're trying to do. So you got the regular Psycho Goreman right here, guys. You got the disc with the Psycho Goreman on it. I think you even got, yeah, a little booklet in this one too. So that's really cool as well. So this is available. I think these are made up toys, but it has like the Frig Off game, which is like a song from the movie that the girl sings. It's really goofy. There's just a lot of really goofy things in this movie. So yeah, it's I don't think any of this stuff is real. I could be wrong. I don't think it's any. There's like a Psycho Goreman punching bag. Yeah, it's very humorous. But yeah, I like Psycho Goreman. I think it's fun. And it's $14.96 on Amazon right now. So I think it's worth that for sure. 2 hours of special features. The movie is pretty humorous. Like I said, it's not great. Not all the comedy lands, but it does have some really good gore. And it's a different movie. You will not watch anything else like Psycho Goreman this year. I can guarantee you that. So let's get into talking about Seance, guys. And you can buy Seance right now for $12.99 on Amazon and in Best Buy. I got this at Best Buy this week. This movie was written and directed by the guy that wrote You're Next, The Guest, the Blair Witch remake. So he worked with Adam Wingard. His name is Simon Barrett. I think he directed one of the VHS sequences, and I think VHS 2. I'm not really sure which one. So going into this one, just knowing that, like, I had high expectations for this, and I actually heard some really good things about it. The movie itself is very basic. It's very generic. It kind of feels, at least for the first hour, it feels like a generic, like, CW thriller show. Like, I don't know, like a Pretty Little Liars or something like that, just with like all the girls and they're like playing pranks on each other, and it's really like juvenile and immature. And you think it's one thing, though. One thing I will say about the movie, you think it's one thing like all the way through the movie, and then when you get to the end, it actually turns out to be something else. And I kind of like the twists and turns that it took in that last 30 minutes. So I actually ended up enjoying this movie based off those last 30 minutes. I think it did a lot to elevate the stuff that came before it. None of the performances in this movie are really that stand out to me. I mean, Suki Waterhouse was pretty good in it. I mean, I actually thought that the kind of the more bitchy girl over here was actually probably the best performance in the entire film. So it's okay. It's not great. Is it worth $12.99? Probably not. If it wasn't for me just wanting to review and give my thoughts on it right here for you guys, it wouldn't be in my RLJE recommendation stack, that's for sure. So the movie itself to me is probably, I don't know, a 2.5 out of 5 or a 3 out of a 5. So it's not like, it's not a great release. The special features are okay. You know, they kind of do interviews with all the cast and they talk about how it was cool to work with Simon Barrett because he's kind of more established in the industry. I don't know. Just for the guy that wrote The Guest and You're Next and Blair Witch, like those 3 movies, like I love the Blair Witch remake too, but You're Next and The Guest, those are like 2 of my favorite genre horror films of like the past 20 years. I absolutely love those movies. So from the guy that wrote those to this, it just feels like a very drastic step down. So yeah, that's my review for Seance, guys. That is my recommendations for RLJE. RLJE is really awesome. I love the stuff that they do. I think they do some really solid work and releases, and they're really cheap and affordable. So like I said, I'm going to be leaving all of those links for purchase in the description below. If you do decide to buy them based on my recommendation today, use those links. It will help out the channel. Also, be sure to like this video, guys, and comment down below your thoughts on any of these releases. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Turn on those bell notifications for all of those future videos, and we'll see you later.